So what has happened is that Ruto amegawia Pastor Mwai shamba tayari ashaiba, alafu sasa yeye ndio akuje kuweka. That's the reason why he's the main developer.
So my final verdict is that based on what I have here, it seems these guys are legit, walinunua hiyo shamba na wamelipa to the last penny.
The heat is rising in the ongoing land saga involving Jesus Winner Ministry, as the church has led to suspension of operations in the country due to the 120 million Kenya shillings pledge made by President William Ruto alongside the land grant. The controversy has only intensified with the conflicting statements of two key figures, Joseph Mwai, an advocate at the High Court of Kenya, and David WAFULA, who claims to have uncovered damning evidence regarding the land's ownership.
But what is the history of this land? If we do a green search, hii shamba who was the first owner, second owner, and third owner ndo mwishowe ikarudi kuwa owned by Jesus Winner Ministry. So those are things I want us to look at, and I've had the opportunity to meet with one of the lawyers who is knee deep in this transaction. I got to obtain this document and it has quite a lot of things. Acceptance by Uchumi, agreement for sale dated 20th September, equity offer letter for loan, corporate guarantee, parliamentary proceedings and report by committee, deed of variation, new title over block XYZ together with a lease. So I want to go through this document with you guys so that we can ascertain huyu Pastor Mwai na hii kanisa yake, are they conmen walipewa hii shamba na serikali vile wanapeana tu mashamba ya housing kama njugu, or are they on the clear? We are going to look at these documents and we'll render a verdict, and I'll try to be very fair sababu pia mimi ni Mkristo na
WAFULA has conducted extensive research presenting what he describes as authentic documents and agreements related to the land's purchase. His findings have raised serious questions about the legitimacy of the transaction, casting doubt on who truly owns the property that was handed over to Jesus Winner Ministry.
So question number one is this: who is the previous owner of this property? So while looking at the history of land ownership, I've had to peruse through the report of the Ministry of Defense and Uchumi Supermarkets, and it reads as follows. According to records held by Kasarani Mall, the President of Kenya granted property to Solio Construction Company Limited vide grant of lease. It is apparent on the face of the grant it was transferred to Silo Construction Company Limited at Kasarani Mall vide a transfer registered at the Land Registry March 2001. The original transfer confirms that A. The grant was issued to Solio Construction Limited by the President of the Republic of Kenya on 1st July 1999. Now, if we're talking about 1st July 1999, I tend to believe that's who? Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Then we move on. Kasarani Mall Limited paid 85 million to Solio Construction Limited in respect to the transfer, receipt of which was acknowledged by the collector of stamp duty on the same 20th March 2001. So Kasarani Mall Limited acquired this land from Solio in 2001. So I'm guessing it moved from public land, Moi approved it, Solio bought it, and then Solio sold it to Kasarani Mall in 2001. Now let me move on to the other side. This sub-article 4 which is really important. The transfer was lawful and procedural. Kasarani Mall submits that it lawfully acquired a valid title from Solio Construction Limited through the transfer. The title has been used by Uchumi Supermarkets PLC, Kasarani Mall's holding company. So no one has really ever heard of Kasarani Mall. We've always known that this land was owned by Uchumi, so now we're getting to learn that the parent company of Kasarani Mall is Uchumi Supermarkets PLC. Here's how the Kenya Defence Forces comes into the mix. The land in question here is 20 acres in total, and it has two title deeds. One title is for the 17 acres and the other is for the remaining 3 acres which Jesus Winner Ministry now owns through Jewel Complex Limited. So in other words, there's 2 parcels of land, 2 interested buyers, and that's Kenya Defence Forces and Jewel Complex Limited. Now from my chat with my learned friend, I have gathered that there was only one access route to the entire property, and that access route was manned by Kenya Defence Forces night and day. I understand why KDF have been patrolling the grounds 24 hours, 7 days a week. And in fact, this can further be confirmed by this document that was dispatched from the Kenya Defence Forces to the Uchumi CEO Mohammed. In case you're wondering which letter I'm talking about, this is it. and it reads as follows. Reference is made to your letter number yada yada dated 9th December 2019, whose contents we have noted. Uchumi Supermarkets PLC is at liberty to conduct valuation of land known as land number so and so, for which the ministry has no claim. However, access to the land known as land number yada yada, whose title is vested in the ministry, has been declined. Kindly take note. I can see here the seal of Uchumi Supermarket PLC. It also reads for Principal Secretary FM Kioko, I believe. So basically the Ministry of Defense was saying that you have access to proceed with evaluation on your 3 acres of land, but you should not dare touch our 17. And like we established earlier, the reason they had to issue this clearance is because they are the ones manning the solitary entrance and exit to both parcels of land. So hapo huwezi pita vile unataka ama kofi ya afande inaweza shuka kama umeme. But anyway, long story short, we've established that Kenya Army has no shares in Uchumi, as I even initially thought. Hawa tu ni mabounsa wamewekwa hapo kuchunga hiyo mchanga yao kidogo ya 17 acres. Now my only hope is that hawanunui hiyo shamba ili wajenge a new location ya did they purchase the land ama walipewa kama njugu, because what we hear in the history of this country, especially amongst our founding fathers, jamaa anamka anasema katia mimi hii shamba. So walikatiwa hii shamba kama njugu na kupatiwa, or did they actually purchase that land? To answer that question, we'll have to head back and look at the financial records. So the 3 acres that Jewel Complex Limited became interested in as of 2018, from what I gather, was retailing at the time at 140 million per acre. So that's a total of 420 million Kenya shillings that needed to have been cleared by Jewel Complex to avoid kusalimiwa na the next government. So I have covertly sourced the financial records, but I have the financial records pertaining to the payment, and I just want to take you through right now, and I quote. So you can see in this first document, which is underlined to the corporate banking division, Jewel Complex Limited deposited 80 million Kenya shillings. Now, if the land is retailing at 420, 20% of that should be around 84 million. So 80 million to me, it's 4 million off. I would call this deposit. Maybe it was agreed by both parties that it's a bit off the mark, but ni sawa. So this is 80 million that was deposited. And then in this second document, we can see 80 million deposited with the RTGS number. I think I should blur this just to stay safe personally. I can also see a follow-up transaction of 250 million. So basically 80 million plus 250 million, that brings us to 330, plus the original 80 that I showed you earlier, that comes to 410. So let's do the math here. If the land is retailing at 420 million and what we have seen is a total of 410, it means that they are 10 million short of getting the title deed, which is why perhaps the president gave 20 million and then started talks about moving the Kenya Defense Forces ahead of construction. So like I said, ni kama President Ruto topped up Jesus Winner Ministry the remaining 10 million Kenya shillings na akaongeza 10 za macho ndo aambiwe atashinda uchaguzi. This is the CEO of Uchumi confirming to the Lands Committee, which was being headed or chaired by Nyamai, that Jewel Complex wants to purchase the land, and they're basically moving forward towards that direction. And in case umepotea kidogo, Jewel Complex is owned by Jesus Winner Ministry. It's a bit complex. So Kenya Mall ni ya Uchumi, Jewel Complex ni ya Jesus Winner Ministry, but I believe we are moving together. So in other words, this land has involved 3 of the last 4 presidents. Moi allowed Soloi Construction Limited to acquire it, still under President Moi. Thika Mall, which is now owned by Uchumi, got it from Soloi at 75 million. And under Uhuru Kenyatta, the Lands Committee in the National Assembly rubber stamped it. And now RUTO has even gone a step further than all his predecessors by donating money towards the purchase of the 3 acres of land by Jewel Complex Limited and asking the military to step aside wawapatie njia ya kuingia na kutoka. So my final verdict is that based on what I have here, it seems these guys are legit, walinunua hiyo shamba na wamelipa to the last penny.
On the other hand, Advocate Joseph Mwai has made bold claims but has yet to present any concrete evidence to back up his assertions, leaving many to question the validity of his statements.
Habari zako? Naitwa Joseph Mwai. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. So what is happening here today, right there is Jesus Winner's Chapel. And this story is much deeper than you people understand it. I have lived within this region, and you can confirm from the people who have been in this region earlier on.
Yes.
The property that is behind us, this property belongs to the Kenyan Army. But when Ruto was deputy president, he tried to steal this property. Ruto si mara ya kwanza amejaribu kuiba hii shamba. He has been trying to steal this property for a while. So when Uhuru was president, he had to be forced to put army tanks. Ask anybody who lives around this area. This is TRM, and there were army tanks that were placed right there to tell Ruto that he cannot occupy that piece of property that belonged to the army. And that piece of property is what has been given to Pastor Mwai. Pastor Mwai has gotten a piece of property ambayo iko hapo nyuma, and he has been trying to steal this property for a while. So what has happened is that Ruto amegawia Pastor Mwai shamba tayari ashaiba, alafu sasa yeye ndio akuje kuweka. That's the reason why he's the main developer. He has contributed 20 million towards a church and then wants to contribute another 100 million. Isn't that the meaning of a developer? A developer ndio anaekelea 100 million. Why is the president developing army property and not under the army? Hii shamba ni kuibiwa, ilikuwa inaibiwa na ni ya KDF. And use your own logic. Ile ni shamba, ile ni manyumba ambao unaziona. I would like you to focus on those houses. Then go to the government's property ambao wamejenga affordable housing. Uangalie kama hazifanani. Ni kitu tu unatumia macho yako. Angalia ile nyumba, enu angalia serikali mahali imejenga affordable housing. They look exactly the same. The contractor is the same. The colors are the same. It is exactly the same project. This is affordable housing, alafu inajanganywa ni ya jeshi. But tutumia akili pia kidogo. Kama ni ya jeshi, wewe ushaona jeshi amewekwa kando ya barabara ama amewekwa kando ya mall. Army barracks, tuko na Kahawa barracks pale chini, tuko na Lang'ata barracks, tuko na Lanet barracks. We have very many barracks in Kenya. Have you ever seen a barrack where the army are hosted right next to the road? This is a very busy roundabout. Another very busy roundabout, ile ni Thika highway. Would you put your army officers as a logical thinking person next to this building? Hapa hakuna army.
Maybe naona kuna
Yes.
wanaweza kuwa
As the dispute rages on, it remains unclear whether the land was genuinely purchased by Jesus Winner Ministry or if President Ruto is using Pastor Mwai as a front to seize the property. With both sides presenting their cases, only time will tell who holds the truth in this heated legal battle. Stay tuned as we continue to monitor this developing story. This is Stephen, GCNews.